Welcome back to the Itsy Game Series. This is episode 11, and this one we're going to be setting up our game instance, hooking up our pipe data table reference within our game instance. That way we can use it later. And then we're also going to set up our level play script, and we're going to test the connections between the game instance and level play script. So we're going to set up some functions that are executable with console commands. So that way we can use those during our testing of the procedural level generation. So it's a bit of a long video. There wasn't a really good way to compress it any smaller, but it's got a lot of good information in it, and we get everything set up and ready for our next phase of development. So with that being said, let's get over into Visual Studio and make this a thing. Okay, so the next thing we're going to be working on here is we're going to work on our game instance. We're going to start there. So we don't need our pipe base and our pipe, we don't need our pipe base right now. So we're just going to go ahead and close those down. Let's go ahead and open up our game instance. And .h and .cpp. Okay, so the game instance, we're going to need to add some stuff before we get into the instance itself. Specifically, we're going to need our level params structure. So use struct maybe. Use there it goes. Okay, so it's going to be a blueprint type. And then we're going to make this F level params. Okay. Now, obviously we're not putting a lot into the level params right now, but as time goes on, we can add more to the level params, and we'll be able to use that as something we can just pass in the parameters for the level later. That's kind of the goal, so then I don't have to change the signatures on functions that might require them, and then I can just yank them all as one big group. So we're going to do U property, and it's edit anywhere. So we're going to open this one up for pretty much everything. So, all right, and then we're going to do an int 32 for the seed, and it's going to initialize at the value of 0. And then we'll do the same thing for one more. We're not doing anything like with the second one. It's going to be difficulty, but I want it in there so that way we can use it for testing. And then it's going to be difficulty. So, all right, so we have our level parameters. That gives us something to kind of work with. Next thing we need to do is we need to go down into our game instance. That's what we're going to be working on now. And let's start with the constructor. So Itsy Game Instance, and set up the constructor for that because we're going to need to get into that constructor. So Itsy. There you go. So there's our constructor. Okay, now let me pull up what I did before, so that way I can make sure I get this right, because this one's a bit of a mouthful. So what we need is to create, actually I need to create where it's going to go first, but to explain what I'm doing with this step here, we need a reference to our data table, so that way we can grab that data table. And I really only want to store that object in one place. I only want to check for it once. I don't want to have to, dinker with it more than once. I just kind of want to lock it in. And doing it in the game instance means that anybody can ask for the information. So that's what we're going to be doing with the data tables. I'm going to basically put all of their objects here within the game instance. That just makes sense to me. You could put them in other places and that would be fine. But this is what I'm going for right now. So let's see here. Pull up my .h. So I wrote this out earlier and tested it to make sure it would work before I got in here. I didn't want to, put anything ugly in here. Okay, so I'm going to do a protected. And then we're going to do property and edit defaults only. And then it's going to be data table. And then we're going to need the include for the data table. So we'll go up here. Include. And let's see here, what is it? It's it's engine/data table. Engine/data table. Okay, so then there, that cleans that up. So it's a data table. It's going to be pipe table and data. Okay, and then that's going to start out as a null pointer. So we can check it later and say, hey, that's not right. Okay, and then while we're here, we can also set up a property, and it's going to be edit anywhere, blueprint read write, and then it's f level params. So there you go. So now we have level parameters and we have pipe data available for us. And then we go up here, and now we can set that data table in the CPP. So we need to get a hold of that that object, right? So we didn't create the data table here in C++. We created it within the editor. So it's kind of a different sort of monster. So we need to actually find that object and get a reference to it. So that's what we're doing here. And the place to do that is in the constructor. So it's going to be static. And then it's construction helpers. And then f object finder. And we are going to be looking for a data table. And then we are going to need the, hold on. We're going to need a reference to it first. We need to know where it's at. Actually, I can write it all out first, and then we can drop the reference in there. So it's going to be, got to create a thing here. So we'll do pipe table object, and then it's going to be text, and then wherever its location is. So then while we're here, so if pipe yep, that's succeeded, so that's checking to see if everything worked. Then the data will be equal to object dot object. There we go. Okay, so now we need a reference to that. So we're gonna have to get the editor, get into the editor. So hopefully I don't have any code that is kind of hanging out there and it'll just build and I can get in there. If not, we'll circle back. So once it's done thinking about life in general. So this one's going to go a little slower because I had compressed this and then pulled it back out. So it's kind of like it's doing it, loading for the first time. Always seems to go slower when I do that. Yeah, that was that error. It said the instance failed to find. That's fine. Okay, so over here in pipe table, we can go here and we can copy reference. There's copy path and copy reference. We want copy reference. So grab that. And then now we can exit out of our editor. We can go right there. And then that's all we have to do. So now it has that pipe table data. It's going to set that and it's going to work just fine. So we'll go ahead and we'll start it without debugging. And then I'll be able to show you where that is. And this should go a lot faster this time. Huzzah. Okay, so we can go into our C++ classes, and we're going to end up wanting this anyway, so we're going to create a blueprint. We'll go stick it in blueprints, and then we'll name it BP_GameInstance. And then, now you can see it. See right there, pipe table data, or pipe table data. Yeah, there it is. So that's the reference to our pipe table, and then you can also see our level parameters are here within our game instance. So now we're good. All of that information is available for us. I wouldn't go around changing this unless you had a good reason, but now it is set, so we are squared away. It's referencing the right thing. So now that we have that squared away, we can continue forward, and we're going to start kind of connecting things up and getting ready for actually making the logic for generating our pipes. So part of the getting that going is we need to essentially have a way to start calling these things and make them go. So we're going to do that through the game instance and then through that level play script. So we're going to open up the level play script. So we're going to be using these two classes. Okay, and then before we get out of the game instance, we might as well create the more of the stuff we need in the game instance. So we're going to need some functions in here to make this go. So we're going to go down, we're going to make a public. And then we'll start with, let's pass that data table. We'll need that later, so we'll go ahead and get that going. So function, and it's going to be blueprint callable, because we may or may not want to use it in blueprints, and I just like to have the option. It's going to return a U data table, pointer to that data table. So get pipe table, and then we'll make it const, so that way we're not changing that on the other end. And then the next one we're going to do is we're going to return the level params. So we're going to say U function. Again, blueprint callable. And we're going to return F level params. And then it's going to be get So yeah, that should work. And then the next one we're going to do is we are going to do a U function for the seed, to set the seed. So U function. Oh, that's why it's not picking that up. I didn't close out that first one, or that last one anyway. Okay, and then we're also going to make this one blueprint callable, but we're also going to make this something we can call from the console, from console commands. So to do that, it's xe or exec. So that'll allow us, when we are in the play, we can hit tilde and then we can say set. In this case, it's going to be set seed, and then it'll set the seed for us. Okay, and then it's going to take an int 32, and it's an int seed. in seed. Okay. I have been commenting these on my test project, so I'm gonna drag that information over for this one and explain what I'm doing with that. So Unreal uses, according to the documentation, the coding standards documentation, it uses kind of a version of a Java docs. Apparently, it's made by Oracle. And so, like, when I put in here for this is my documentation for the set seed. So when I hover over set seed, it gives me all that information. You see, it says, you know, the parameters, the node I put in there. It's just, you know, good commenting and whatnots. I found it pretty cool. I've been working on kind of like getting my stuff better. So I don't want to drag the video out with a lot of that, but that's where this is coming from. Is, you know, like I said, I've been commenting it, and I want to drag some of that stuff into here because I want to keep it, you know. So that's what we're doing and why. Okay, so I got my set seed. Now we also want to set the difficulty. Int 32 and in. Okay. And then, like I said, I did the same thing with the commenting on this as well. So there you go. And then for this is, you know, it shows the param. So like that in seed, then it explains what the in seed is. If it returned anything, it would then have return. It just helped, like I said, just good documentation. So I'm still, I don't know, kind of playing around with it, finding where I feel most happy with the amount of documentation I'm putting in. So that is a thing. All right, and the next thing I'm going to want is regenerate world. So U function, callable, and then so that one also needs to be executable console. And this is going to be void and regenerate low. So, and that's not going to take anything. And then this one probably doesn't need as much. Just put in what I wrote in the other one. Huzzah. Okay, see, now this one shows there. Okay, cool. So now we've got our main functions that we're going to be able to call. So this will help for the testing, and we'll also use the same function once we start hooking it up to a UI. So that's what we're kind of like preparing for. So that is good. Now we just need to do stuff with them. So let's go ahead and go over here, and we'll just see if I can cheat it. Yeah, there we go. So I'm just going to go ahead and generate a definition for each of these. So that's one of the nice things about ReSharper is I can just, you know, hit that button and then it'll do it. Every once in a while it'll like force it inline and I'll be like, oh man, that's not cool. I don't know. Big fan of ReSharper. So, okay, so we'll start at the top. So this one's going to return our data table. So return pipe data table, and then it's should be a reference to it. There you go. That's already set up as a pointer to it. So there we go. That's going to return the pipe data table, which is good. Okay, and then this is going to return our level params. Super easy. Okay. And then to set the seed, we're going to go level params dot seed equals nseed. Super easy. And difficulty. Actually, level params. Level params dot difficulty equals in difficulty. Okay, and then regenerate level. We're going to go back and we are going to come back to that after we've added some logic in the play script. So this is as far as we need to get right now with the game instance itself. Let's go ahead and build, make sure I didn't miss anything before I start skipping over somewhere else. Shouldn't have, but you never know. Okay, cool. Yeah, we're here. So, and then let me double check, make sure I didn't miss anything that I wanted to put in there. So I know I had some commenting in here that was a thing. So okay, yeah, no, I had some logic that I had put in my regenerate level here in the game instance, which is pretty important. I want to make sure I get that in now. Okay, so in order for our game to function, we need to be using a specific, play level script, right? If that's not set, the whole thing is junk. It's not, nothing's gonna work. So we're gonna force this to work. Or we're going to make sure that we're good before we go any further on this. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna say Itsy. Oh no, we can't do this yet. Sorry. I was getting ahead of myself. So we will go to the play level script. So, all right. I apologize for getting you confused. So I'll pull up my level script. Okay. So from here, we need some other stuff. We need some other stuff as well. So let's try to see how I was doing this before I was starting. Okay, yeah, I'm starting at the most closed down. Okay. All right, so in the level script, I'll start with a private field. And it's going to be U property. And we'll just do visible anywhere. And then it's going to be F random stream. And it's going to be, we're going to call it random stream. And then it's going to equal random at random stream. Just want to force that to be the way we want to initialize it. I think later on somewhere I'm going to put these more like a constant somewhere. So that way I can just, just be like, okay, I want this to initialize with this automatically. So, but for now, this is fine. So this is going to be our random stream that we're going to pull from later for everything. So I am surprised you can actually hear that train in the background. So at level params, yeah, include, there we go. And then we're gonna need, so F level params, call that level params. And then we don't have to do anything else with that, so that's good. Okay. And then we're gonna save a reference to the game instance just to make it easy so I don't have to cast over and over and over again, because the game instance isn't going to change. If it does, something is really wrong. So, all right, so Itsy Game Instance, pointer to that, and then Game Instance equal null pointer. Start out as null. And then the next thing we're going to use is we're going to have another property for whether or not our level has been built, and it's just going to be a bool. So U property, and then bool B has been built. And then initialize that to false. And then we'll need some internal functions. So I'll need U function. And then we're going to call this one. This one's going to return a bool. And it's going to be tear down level. And I'll explain where I'm going with this in just a second once I get these kind of like laid out. And then bool build level. Okay. All right. And then we'll need a public space. And we're going to want a U function. And it's going to be blueprint callable. And then it's going to be a bool regenerate level. Okay, so yeah, so these functions, this build level and tear down level, the basic idea is when we do begin play, we're going to build the level based off whatever level parameters are set in the game instance. Now, once we do that, that means like every time we enter that level, like we load that map, then it's going to automatically build our level for us based on whatever seed is set when we load the level. So we're also going to want to be able to regenerate that level without like, leaving the map. We can just wipe everything out and start over. And it'll make it a lot easier for testing because then we can just type in the command through the console and then see rapidly like, okay, yeah, that worked, that didn't work. And then that'll help with our logging and everything else. It just kind of the logical flow when I was planning it out. It just made a lot of sense to me to do it this way. So, I've got those two functions, one to build, one to tear down, and then I've got a public function for the regenerate level. So since it's building its level in the begin play, every time that we're hitting that console command, we're going to call that regenerate level from the game instance, and then it'll just, go all the way down into here. Hopefully that made sense to me, but I'm not sure if that made sense to everybody else. As we do it, I think it'll probably pick you up and you'll be like, oh yeah, okay, now I get what the crazy dude is talking about. So with that being said, the next thing we really are going to need to do here before we start getting out of our .h for our player script is we need to override our begin play. So we're going to go begin play virtual, and then void begin play. Then we're going to override it. Okay, so whenever you're overriding, I'm not sure if I mentioned this in this video series or not, but when you override something that's already existing, you don't make it a U function. It'll cause your stuff to not compile. So heads up there. And so like, the level script is an actor, so it has a begin play. So like, that's the first thing it's really going to do. I mean, it constructs and does, some other stuff, but like, as far as gameplay goes, that's the first thing. That's like kind of like the starting block. So we're going to put logic within our begin play. Okay. So now that we have this stuff set, we're going to go ahead and create our functions. So like I said, I'm going to cheat because I want to save some time on the video for you a little bit. As far as, making functions, I think you should be able to figure that out. So, okay. All right, so here we are. They're all set up. Yay. Okay, so the first thing we're going to do is I think we're going to start with our BeginPlay function. I think that's where I want to get going. So let me pull up my ALevelScript that I already did so I can check it out. Yeah, we're going to start with BeginPlay. So our super for BeginPlay, we're actually going to call that after we run our script. So we're going to run our logic and then run the BeginPlay that goes for the rest of it. So we're not doing an awful lot in the BeginPlay yet, but we are going to be doing stuff. So we're going to make sure that we have the right game instance before we do anything else. Because if we have the wrong game instance, we're going to be expecting calls and looking for stuff that isn't there. So what we're going to do is go game instance, because remember we saved a pointer to our game instance, and it's going to equal cast and Itsy underscore UGameInstance. There you go. And then we should go get game instance. So we're going to get the game instance, and we're going to try to turn it into a Itsy game instance, which would have everything the regular game instances have, and then also all of the additional stuff we have. If it fails, it's going to return a null pointer. So it's going to say, hey, that didn't work, and it's going to return a null pointer. So we know that if it fails, we're going to get that null. So what we're going to do is we are going to ensure that we crash the game if it doesn't work. And I know that sounds like why would you do that? But no, this totally makes sense, because if you try to load the level and you have the wrong game instance, everything is wrong anyway. So at that point, we want to close the game down and we want to log that we screwed up. Okay, so we're going to do this as an ensure. And then message F. Okay, so now what this is going to do is it's going to do a check. So that's the first thing we're doing. We're saying game instance, and it's not equal to null pointer. Okay, and then so if ensure that it's not equal to null pointer. But if it is equal to null pointer, then we're gonna log some text for us. Should be text, yeah, text. Okay, and then it's gonna be, we're gonna go ahead and I think I'm gonna say Itsy score play level script begin play is going to be is going to fail. So failed. Wrong game instance. So that should work out pretty good. I can hear I think my little people are getting ready to go to sleep. They're having a sleepover. Okay, so I want to make sure that I say, something specifically about this, or when that happens. I want to still log, so to close the game down, send a crash report, and log that. So anyway, that should be good. We're going to make sure that we have the right game instance, and then we're going to, once we have the right game instance, we're going to build the level. And that should be all we need here within the BeginPlay. So it checks to make sure we got the right game instance. If it doesn't, we're going to kick everything back. If it does have the right game instance, we're going to go ahead and build the level because we've got everything we need to get started. We hope. Okay, so that is in there. The next thing that we need to do is, let's see here. What other logic do I want to add for next? Yep, we'll do the build level logic. That makes sense. Okay, so at the very end, return true. And while I'm here, I can do the same thing with the teardown, because we're not going to actually build a lot of the teardown logic. Same thing with this. Just that way it'll compile. Okay, so for the build level, we're going to basically, we're not going to do the logic today for the actual building the level, but what we're doing is we're testing to make sure everything is like hooked up together. So we're just going to put some logging in here. So the first thing we want to do is we want to check, well, we'll have some of the logic is going to be in. B has been built equals true. Okay. And if it equals true, then we're going to call teardown. And then we're going to continue on. So what I want with this, and that's equals. So what I want to do is when we call build level, I wanted to check to see whether or not we've already built a level, because remember in BeginPlay we're building the level. So when we call it, we want to check to make sure that we haven't already done that. And if we have, we want to tear everything out, and that's where we'll have that logic in the teardown. It'll take all of the pipes that we've already generated and all of the whatever bits and bobs and get rid of those before we start adding more stuff in. That will be the goal. So I may find a better way of doing that, but right now that's what's working for me in my head. Okay, so the next thing we need is we need our level params to be set. So we're going to say level params is going to equal, and then we're going to go GameInstance get level params. So then that'll set our local level params to whatever the GameInstance params are. And then we're also going to use that to test to see whether what we're doing is correct. So what we're going to do is we're going to log both the local, and we're going to log the game instance at the same time. So that way we can see if there's any sort of error between the two. That's what this little test is for. This code won't stay forever. This is just for today. So UE log. And yeah, I'm going to want to, actually before I do that, I want to create a log category for the play script. So that way we have that available, because we're going to end up doing a lot of logging while we're testing this out. So yeah, we're going to want a category so it makes it easier to see. Okay, so it's going to be to create a log category. It's first we got to declare it. So declare log category extern. Okay, and then we're going to name it Itsy underscore play level script. So then we know where it's coming from. And then I think I'm going to do it verbose. So that way we can, it'll get called or cold real easily. Okay, so got verbose. That's all set up. Okay, I'm going to copy this because I have a tendency to like misspell on translation, like moving it over. So then we go to our CPP file, and then we're going to say define and log category. There it is. Define log category, and it's going to be what we just declared. And then now we have that available for our logging. Let me go ahead and build to make sure. Sometimes it's a little finicky, I think, when I set those up. I've noticed that's like a thing. Yeah, so that succeeded. We're good. I can continue. Okay, so now that that's square, we'll go back into our build level, which is what we're working for. And then we'll go UE log. And then for the category, we'll say Itsy Play Script. And then to make it real easy to see, we're going to say warning. And then we are going to text. Okay. And it's going to be, let's see here, how do we want to write this? So the local seed, it's going to be %d. Okay, and then that's going to want some, let's see here, we're going to want to give that our level params. Seed, and then that'll work just fine. Now the next one I want to do is, because I want to make sure that, you know, we're not screwing up between the two, is we're also going to show the same information but from a different place. Okay, so what we're going to do is the same thing. So Itsy ALevelScript, and then we're going to do warning. So it's, you know, yellow, it sticks out real easy. And then text. And this one is going to be instance. Say actually game instance. Just that way it's clearer to me. And seed. And %d. And now it's game instance dot level params. Yeah, we'll get level params dot seed. Okay, and then we're going to do the same thing again for the level, so we can test our functionality of all of that stuff. So difficulty and difficulty. See? Huzzah. So then what it'll end up doing is it will, when we call build, it will give me the information from that, whatever the current seed is, both here within the play script and also from the game instance itself. So that's what we're looking for. And one last thing to tie this up is once a level has been built, everything worked. Before we get out of there, we want to say B has been built equals true. So we can set that flag so we know that, you know, it's been built. Okay, so then regenerate level. Okay, we double check here. Yeah, so regenerate level, we're going to say build level. So that way it calls that, because this is what we're using from the game instance, what the game instance is actually going to call. All right, I want to make sure I didn't miss anything. I don't believe I did. Let's see here. This is return true. Why don't we go ahead and put a log in here that teardown's been called. So UE log, and then Itsy, Itsy script for my category, and we'll just make this one a log. And text. And then we're gonna write down, let's see here, what we want to say. Yeah. Tear down level. So, and actually, we'll be a little more, no, I don't need to be any more descriptive because we already know it's coming from the level script. So that should work great for being able to understand what we're doing. Cool. I think we've got pretty much everything we need to do to test this. So let's go ahead and we'll build it, make sure it works first. I could have just, you know, hit debug and it'll do the same thing, but it's just kind of a habit of mine. Let that load up. Okay, so we're back in the editor. We're good to go there. We want to go down and we want to get rid of these pipes because, you know, I had just put these. I don't know if you put any additional stuff into your level just to kind of look at it and see what it is. The only thing we really want to keep in here is, you know, the standard stuff, the player start and all that stuff, and the floor. Everything else, just get rid of it. We don't need it for the next whatever, and it's just going to get in your way. Okay, so we want to do a couple of quick checks before we get to testing it, or else we will crash our game. So we go to project settings, and we go to maps and modes, and then under game instance, we want to change this to our BP game instance. So that will fix any issue with like that game instance being incorrect. The next thing we want to do is we want to take this level and we want to use the blueprint for the level script that we had. So the ALevelScriptActor is kind of like an invisible actor that every level has. So like you can't like click on it over here and be like, here it is. You know, that's not how it works. But you can set it over here if you go to the level blueprint. All right, and then in the level blueprint, you go into class settings, and it's right here, the parent class. So right here, we're going to pick our Itsy PlayLevelScript. Now this one's not going to be from a blueprint, so like it's from the C++. So we don't need to make like a separate BP like we did with our game instance, because we're not going to be changing a whole heck of a lot on that. So there you go. There's the class settings. We are good there. And we should be good to test it. So let's give her a whirl and see what happens. Okay, so we hit play, and obviously we can move around and everything's good, but that's not really what we're testing, is it? So actually, I'm gonna go ahead and go to my output log here because we won't be able to see that. Okay, so now we'll try again. So play. Now you'll notice down here that the PlayLevelScript gives us, our local seed is 0, our game instance seed is also 0, and then did we not change that text? We didn't change that text. I'm gonna change that text right now. I don't want to, I don't want to confuse anybody more than I'm already confused. So, all right. So that's the game instance seed. So this is difficulty. There. Okay, now we'll try that again. Start without debugging. Okay, so we're good to go. Okay, so now we loaded. Now it says the right thing, the difficulty, etc. Okay, so now I can hit tilde. That's the little squiggly just below the escape key if you're going, what's tilde? Okay, so now I can say set seed. Okay, now that's that function that we just created. And then let's say 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Boom. Okay, now the seed should be set. Now we can double check that by regenerating the world. So go regenerate level. And then it should log that out. I don't see it logging it out. Oh, I don't believe we hooked it up from the instance. In fact, I know we didn't hook it up from the instance because we didn't go back there. Okay, so in regenerate level, that's where I'm missing something there, and I apologize. It's not ideal. I should have had that squared away. Okay, so here we go. So regenerate level. We're not doing anything in the regenerate level, so we need to do that. So we need to make an Itsy. We need a level script, so we'll need to have that in the include up here. So include Itsy PlayLevelScript, so that way we can use it. All right, so now we're gonna have an Itsy PlayLevelScript, a pointer to a PlayLevelScript, and we're gonna call it level. And it's gonna be equal to what should matter? What does that matter? What should? All right, so Itsy PlayLevelScript. Oh, that's because it's on Itsy. There we go. Now it's good. So Itsy PlayLevelScript. Oh, that's kind of a mouthful, isn't it? Okay, and then it's going to be equal to cast. All right, and then Itsy PlayLevelScript, and then we're going to get world. Get LevelScriptActor. Okay. And then if let's see here. So if level equals null pointer, we'll just put a gate in there. Return. So what that'll do is if the level is a null pointer, like so if our cast failed, it's just going to kick back out. It's going to leave this function. So then the next thing we're going to do is we are going to hit level generate. Oh, it's regenerate, sorry. Generate level. There we go. Now we're actually calling it. And then over here, I think it was good. Is good. Is good. Okay, so now our thing should be hooked up. Let's try this again. I didn't realize this was going to be quite so long of a video, so you're still hanging in with me. Thank you. So we're going to do this testing up, and then we're going to tie up this video. And we'll continue on in another one. Okay, so now we're back in here. I hit play. We can see down there that our local seed and our game instance seed, everything's good there. So then we'll go set seed. And 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we will, let's go ahead and set the difficulty to set difficulty. Oops. Didn't like that. Set difficulty. And then give it a value. We'll say 3. There we go. Now we'll regenerate the world. Regenerate level. Okay, see now you can see down here that when we regenerated the world, now it's using the seed that we had set, and the seed the seeds are matching, so everything went fine with the transfer of information, and we can see that what we have set is there. So like now we're good here, and we can continue forward, and we can use this to iterate changes. So what we're going to be doing when we're testing is we can go, you know, from the play, we can then hit regenerate world, and it's going to rebuild based on the new seed, whatever we put it in. So we can try different seeds, and you know, so on and so forth. So that is all that I wanted to accomplish today with this video. The next video we should be able to dial in on getting our pipe stuff to start working. My goal is to get the pipes to spawn, and then once we get the pipes to spawn, we're going to you know, dive a bit deeper into that, and then get last thing we'll circle back to is the actual like falling platforms. So with all that, thanks for watching. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, drop them in, you know, the comments. Do all the YouTube-y stuff, you know. Again, if you're still here, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a wonderful day.